If you're about to do your first AFF jump, you're probably thinking about your body position, what you're going to be doing on the jump, and oh yeah, you don't want to screw anything up. All of that is important. But what I have found after 15 years of doing AFF instructor jumps, as well as being a coach examiner, is that the most common reason that students struggle on category A has nothing to do at all with skydiving skills. It actually has to do with how tense they are. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly what category A involves, what you're going to be evaluated on, and the one thing that you are going to need to force yourself to do, even though every instinct in your body is going to be fighting against it. The first jump in AFF, or accelerated freefall, is referred to as category A. Category A begins with ground school, or first jump course training. So that's when you're going to learn about the equipment that you're going to use, what your freefall body position should look like, and how in the world you even fly the parachute. That's all stuff that you're going to do way before the jump. We also have our own ground school playlist, and I'll link to that below. As I kind of alluded to, not all DZs do the AFF program the exact same way. So some schools are actually using levels instead of categories. And some DZs will actually have you do one, maybe even two tandem jumps before you do an AFF solo jump. There's other places that let you go straight into AFF solo training. However, both paths do meet USPA standards, so it just kind of depends on the drop zone that you are training at. So whether you have one tandem instructor or two AFF instructors, their job is always going to be the same. Number one is safety. They need to be looking out for your safety as well as their own safety. And then the second job is to be actively coaching you throughout that jump. Okay, so let's talk for just a few minutes about what's actually going to be happening on that jump. So to be able to make a skydive, we need to first get out of the aircraft. Depending on what aircraft is at the drop zone that you are going to be jumping from, your exit position is going to vary. And your instructor will let you know exactly what they want to see. At some point, you will be, after you get set up, you will be checking in with your instructor just to make sure that everybody is ready to go. And then you're going to begin an exit count, because if you're doing an AFF jump, you've got probably 3 people that are all trying to exit at about the same time. And an exit count helps us to be more in sync with each other. Tandem instructors are usually the ones that will be giving their own exit count, whereas AFF, you will be in charge. The student will be in charge of giving the exit count. Once we get out of the aircraft, we are going to get stable. AFF students, your first exits, usually not your best exits, so don't be surprised if you do tumble just a little bit. Your instructors are going to help you regain stability, and once you are stable, you've got a nice arch position, you should stay stable for the rest of the jump. Once we are stable, then there are 2 tasks that we're going to be doing in freefall. The first one is going to be called a circle of awareness, and we'll get to that in a moment, what that is. And we're also going to be doing practice touches, which means that we are going to be touching our deployment handle so that we know exactly where it's located before it is full time. So let's start with, go away, Jasper. Let's start with what is a circle of awareness. So circle of awareness is kind of what it sounds like. We are going to be visually making a circle so that we are aware. What are we going to be aware of? We're going to be aware of our altitude as well as what our instructors think about our body position. The second task that we have, like I said, is practice touches, where we are just going to be touching our deployment handle so that we know exactly where it's located. So let's begin with the circle of awareness. Once you're in neutral body position in freefall, you want to keep your chin up. And to perform a circle of awareness, the first thing that you're going to do is looking out ahead of you. You want to just note, what is my heading? Meaning, what am I looking at? Which direction am I facing? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your left hand to check your altitude. Here, her non-existent altimeter she's looking at. And then you want to look at your left side or your reserve side instructor and wait for any hand signals that they give you. Once you get a thumbs up, you're going to continue to your right side instructor, wait for their hand signals. And once you get a thumbs up, now you're going back to neutral again. So our other task is to do practice touches, and that's so that we know exactly where the deployment handle is going to be located when it comes to pull time. So nice and smoothly, we want to go and touch our handle, making sure that we get that into the palm of our hand before coming back to neutral. And we've got 3 of those to do. So that was 1, we'll do a second, and then a third. Back to neutral, And then at this point, we'd probably do a second circle of awareness if there was still time. Okay, so now we've talked about those tasks that we're going to be doing in free fall. What else is going to be going on? Well, at any point throughout your jump, your instructor might be giving you hand signals so that you are aware of what your body position is doing and so that you can make it look a little bit better. So hand signals can come at any time. And then when it comes to pull time, we need you to have an assisted pull within 1,000 feet of what we set as our pull altitude. So what is an assisted pull? It simply means that as an instructor, I can take your hand, put it on your deployment handle, close your hand around that deployment handle, and actually help you start or initiate the process, but the rest needs to be up to you. So if you have absolutely frozen, I'm not going to be able to move your arm. I'm not going to be able to help you. So that's why being able to stay as relaxed as you possibly can is going to be very helpful. Once the parachute opens, you need to go ahead and do your canopy check to make sure you've got a good canopy. And then you will be listening for instructions. Most DZs are going to be putting a radio on you somehow, and they are going to be giving you instructions on where you need to be while you're flying the parachute and how assisting you with the landing pattern as well as the landing itself. So this brings us to discussing what are the criteria that I need to meet to be able to pass this jump. So number one is going to be that you remain stable in the second half of your jump. So once you gain stability, you stay stable. The second is that you are aware, that you try to respond to your instructor's hand signals. You are looking at your altitude. The third point that you need in free fall is, like I said, to have that assisted pull. So you need to initiate the pull within 1,000 feet of what your assigned altitude is. Under canopy, again, kind of need to be aware, need to be a good canopy pilot, listening to instructions and actually trying to follow them. The two actual criteria that we're signing off on are, could you land within, I think it's 330 feet and within 60 degrees of the heading, but that's all with assistance. Hopefully what you see here is that all of the criteria that you need to be able to pass this jump, it's all stuff that you're supposed to achieve with your instructor's assistance. It's not something that you have to do by yourself. So category A is a test of what you can do with help, not just on your own. Okay, the real key to this jump is, like I said, is to be able to control your tension and learning how to force yourself to relax when your body, your brain, everything is telling you that you should not be relaxed, because it's not natural to jump out of an airplane. But if you're tense, it's going to have an impact on every part of your jump. If you're tense, it's difficult to have a nice arch. It's difficult to just even be aware, to pay attention to what's going on with hand signals that you're given, or making sure to check your altitude, because you're just, a lot of times you feel like you need to fight the wind instead of just kind of laying into it. And that's what we need to try to visualize, is that once we are out in free fall and we just need to, when we're arching, we need to lay on the air instead of trying to fight the air. So here's some things that will actually help you out with this. Make sure that you know that dive flow really well. And when I'm saying dive flow, that's everything that you're doing in free fall as well as under canopy. So for category A, that's mostly free fall tests. Make sure that you know it really well. If you're having to think about what's going to be coming next, you're probably losing a lot of time in free fall. And the next thing you know, you're going to feel like your jump was just over in an instant. Caution to acronyms. There's a lot of them that can be found in the skydiving world. And so on this first jump, some people might say, instead of circle of awareness, they might say COA. Instead of practice touches, they might say PTs. So if you can think of that acronym and actually just go right into whatever that task is, awesome. But if you're finding that you're taking some time to translate those acronyms, it's probably better not to memorize them that way. So what do I mean by that? So if you think, okay, COA means a circle of awareness. And when I do a circle of awareness, that means first thing I look at is my heading. Like if you go back and look at how much time I just took to go from COA to what it actually is and doing those things, that was several seconds, and every 5 seconds is another 1,000 feet in free fall. So if you're finding that you can't just respond immediately to an acronym, don't memorize the acronyms. Just go straight into what those steps are. So for me, for whatever reason, even though I've been doing this for so long, I can't think COA and just automatically do it. So I just think of it as heading, altitude, reserve side instructor, main side instructor. But for whatever reason, if I think practice touches, I can just immediately go and start doing practice touches. You know yourself best. If you find that when you are mentally rehearsing the dive flow, that you are spending way too much time, which is just a few seconds, to translate those acronyms, then don't think of them as that. Think of them as what the actual steps are. So you want to know your dive flow until it's very automatic. As in, you're in the middle of doing practice touches and your instructor gives you a hand signal, you need to be able to pause, in this case, fix your legs, and then continue on with your practice touches and not let that screw you up. The other thing that you can do once you know the dive flow really well is also visualization. Visualization is a very powerful tool that is underutilized in our sport, I think, especially when it comes to student training. So I want you to visualize your perfect skydive several times until it's flowing nice and easily and you're seeing yourself being relaxed and doing everything as you're supposed to. But then you should also visualize that skydive where things go wrong. And usually the things that are going to be going wrong in category A is, I've already mentioned, your exit may not be the nicest exit ever. There might be a little bit of tumbling. So when you're visualizing this, visualize getting a little bit unstable on exit and then arching, and everything just smooths out and you've got stability again. Or visualize having problems finding your deployment handle as you're doing your practice touches. So the fix here would be, I'm just going to pause. If I can't find my deployment handle, I'm going to pause with my hand around the location I think it should be, and my instructor just puts my hand back to where it really is. So visualize your perfect jump and visualize a realistic jump. All of that is going to be very helpful. The other thing that you really need to be doing is even before you get out of the airplane. So as you're going to the plane, as you're on the ride up on the way to altitude, is you need to be scanning yourself, because typically our tension starts to build, our anticipation, our anxiety, whatever you want to call it, that starts to build as we are on our way to jump run. Every few minutes or so, just kind of do a body scan, see if you notice that you are starting to get tense already. I like to have my students do a little bit of a breathing exercise. So just deep breath in, deep breath out, and notice, can I feel my toes? Deep breath in, deep breath out. Do I still feel my fingers? Because that's going to let you know if you are still kind of in your body. A lot of times when we have that adrenaline dump starting to happen, our focus gets very, very narrow. So we need to kind of get back into our body, if that makes sense in a way. So body scans on the way to altitude and actively starting to calm yourself down already. And then some of it, I think sometimes students have a hard time trusting their instructors. Like, our whole goal on this jump is to help you out. So you need to give us the opportunity to help you when you need it. And when I say that, the big things that I typically see is a student is having trouble finding their deployment handle and they're just really, really stiff. So if you're really stiff, there's a lot of tension in your upper body. No matter what, I'm not going to be able to move your hands to help you out. So just physically forcing yourself to relax during the jump. So if you are actually at a drop zone where you are going to be doing a tandem jump, you are going to see a lot of these same three components show up in your jump as well. You need to help with stability. You need to be aware of what's going on and try to respond to your instructor's hand signals, and as well as initiating deployment. So again, to pass your first jump, your category A, you need to do 3 things in freefall. We just talked about those, but again, they are, you need to be stable in the second half of your jump. You need to be aware and respond to hand signals, check your altitude, and you need to have at least an assisted pull. Under canopy, you need to be landing within 330 feet of your planned target or planned landing area. You need to land within 60 degrees of the planned heading. However, all of this is with assistance. Your instructor will be helping you out throughout the entire jump. While we hope that you can just do everything on your own, realistically, that's probably not going to be the case. You're going to need our help at some point. And that's completely fine. And that's what we're there for in that first jump. Again, keys to success are going to be physically forcing yourself to relax. That's going to be on the ride up to altitude as well as in free fall. You need to physically force yourself to relax because it is not a natural thing to be relaxed on your first jump. And you also need to let your instructors help you whenever you need help. If you're a person that wants to be more prepared, we have a lot of information on our website. That's skydivefundamentals.com. We have broken down each category. We have quizzes if you want to do quizzes, and we've got study guides as well. I will make sure that I link that below too. And if you found this information for Category A helpful, please consider subscribing to this channel for more content about skydiving. We've got that first jump course material or ground training that is also linked in the description box as well if you need to review that information. And we will see you once you get to Category B.